Hi fellow entrepreneurs, welcome back to my in-depth review of Tai Lopez Business Entrepreneurship Accelerator program. This is step number 6. I'm Phil Smy, by the way. We call it a bug. I'll put a bug down there. This is step number 6. I'm not going to tell you the title because the title is pretty much the whole lesson. So, being an entrepreneur is all about one thing. Dealing with other people. You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? So dealing with other people. You have customers, you have employees, you have vendors, you have investors, you have business partners. So you have to have these interpersonal relationships. Interpersonal skills are probably the most important skills you can have as an entrepreneur. Tai says Drucker called this management. He didn't. That's not what Drucker was talking about. So in this particular step, we're not going to talk about customers. Tai says he talks about that in some other step. We're going to talk about the other people, the employees, vendors, investors, and business partners. Tai then goes into a very long anecdote about the time he went to South America on a boat with a friend who had a horrible sense of direction when they were in South America. And the whole story is pretty much completely irrelevant. So 10 minutes later, he's still working through the anecdotes. Then we get to the meat. That's why I'm doing these reviews. Tai just goes on and on. So the whole thing is about Sam Walton. And here's a little tip that a lot of what Tai talks about is gleaned from the Sam Walton autobiography. If you can find that book and read it like I did, it's an amazing story. Anyway. It's a great book. It's well written. He kind of wrote it in his last years. Anyway, so Tai's tip is from that. Sam Walton said his management style was over-the-shoulder management. And that is that, every once in a while, check up on what people are doing. It's not, rocket science. You don't do it too often, but do it enough to keep tabs on it. You do it dependent on the position. If it's an important position, maybe you check a little more frequently than if it's somebody who's not so important in their day-to-day. And you just come right up front with people and explain, maybe before you've been burned by people embezzling or whatever, but there's no harm in wanting updates. And you don't have to be aggressive about it. And you should respect people's personal space, but just say, okay, every once in a while, you just pop in and say, hey, what you doing? What are you working on? If you have an office. If not, just an email. And if people don't answer emails like that, that's a warning sign right there. Tai then goes off on another anecdote about rogue programmers, which was my favorite statement from this one, and other tales of embezzlement, Here's a tip that, if people are going to steal from you, you're never going to get that money back. You can sue them, but they probably don't have the money, so it's best just not to have people steal from you. So, and then there's some more examples here, some more waffling. Tai says, make sure you look at your bank account. Tai had $130,000 taken from his bank account due to card fraud recently. And now he checks every day, which to me sounds a little bit like paranoia, and perhaps you could get an assistant to check every day, But it's not always about catching fraud or stopping embezzlement and these things, It's also about you as an entrepreneur. It's your business. You have some knowledge to put in, So if you say to the person who's in charge of your advertising, show me what you're working on, maybe you have valid input. Anybody who says, well, I'm the advertising specialist, fire those people. Anybody who says, I'm the accounting specialist and I don't want to show you the numbers, fire those people. You, as the business owner and the person who's running with this business, certainly have the right, and not only the right, you have value to put in. That's the important thing to remember. You're a team. If people are getting very defensive, it's a really bad situation. Tai says there's some schools of management who say monitor everything all the time, and that's overkill. For the record, there isn't a school of management thought that says that. And there's also some people who say, just hand it over, hire a CEO or a COO, and just hand it over to them, and then I don't have to do anything. But that gets back to that ridiculous idea that you don't have to be involved in your own business. You do. And finally, Tai talks about this idea that, if it seems wrong, it is wrong, and to follow your instinct. This is true. I think it's important, but you have to develop a sense of instinct, because I could argue that the whole anecdote that he spent 10 minutes on at the top about his friend who went to South America and had a horrible sense of direction, he was following his instinct. It's just his instinct was wrong. So you can't just say follow your instinct. You have to develop some kind of skill. Follow your instinct in things you know about. And the most important thing for me is, bring in outside advice. If have another accountant every once in a while check your books, or have another friend who does advertising check your ads. These kinds of things. The more input, the better. You can't do it alone, as we've said before already. So that's it. Step number 6. The reason I didn't want to say the title, sorry while I adjust my hair. The reason I didn't want to say the title is step number 6's title was over-the-shoulder management. And really, that's it. That's the whole lesson. Check up every once in a while. Okay, 3 questions. What's an example of when you've been too laid back and you got taken advantage of? Question number 2 is, when were you too controlling and you pushed away people who should have stayed around? And number 3 is, who's a good person to bring in for a second opinion, or as I could say, just say a sounding board? So think about those 3 things. They're important questions. And we'll see you soon for step number 7 of the Tai Lopez Business Accelerator program. I'm Phil Smyth, and this is my in-depth review. See you later.